Is the build phenomenon real or imagined? Well, first I need to explain what I mean. You see, the evolution model claims to explain how microbes evolved into microbiologists. That would be an incredible uphill journey, wouldn't it? Uphill in terms of sophistication and complexity, and also uphill in terms of extreme improbability. Things can easily degrade. That's not controversial. But go uphill? Well, that is controversial. So the heart of any such explanation, any such theory, would be this: for a coherent, functional, nascent structure, comprised of many different coordinated parts, for that kind of structure to ever be built by an undirected material process. So that means, of its own accord, without any help from intelligent direction. This particular phenomenon I have dubbed the build phenomenon, basically an extremely improbable structure like this arising by building itself. So does this happen? Can it happen, whether suddenly or very slowly and gradually? Has it ever occurred? Is the build phenomenon ever real, even if the structure is allowed to be small, or even if we allow non-biological, super lucky structures? And if we grant the build phenomenon every benefit of the doubt, has it ever been seen happening anytime, anywhere? Is the build phenomenon, which evolution completely depends upon, is it real or imagined? Before we go on, let's assume, for the moment, that the neo-Darwinian mechanism of mutations and selection is operable. I want to go below that to a more fundamental level and look at the phenomenon that this mechanism is supposedly accomplishing. And that would have to be the build phenomenon. So again, is the build phenomenon real or imagined? I have challenged hundreds of materialist evolutionists with this over the past year. My challenge is, can you offer one observation of the build phenomenon ever? You tell imaginative stories about the genome building up and building structures and systems, but do you have a single solitary observation of it? Just one case would be nice. No one has successfully answered the challenge. All we hear are stories, never an observation. It seems these know-it-all evolutionists are all bluster. They can't put up, yet they won't shut up. It's just embarrassingly superficial speculations. Endlessly, even in the so-called scientific literature. Zero science, just tall tales about how this fully formed fossil creature evolved into that fully formed fossil creature. Did they observe that phenomenon? No, but that doesn't stop them from inventing evolution charts and believing what they just made up. By the way, when they invent their stories, there are almost always other evolutionists who have a different story and a different opinion. We are usually led to believe everything is settled, but it's mostly not settled at all. Just saying. But back to the imaginary build phenomenon. You need to understand that microbes to microbiologist evolution is utterly vacuous if the build phenomenon can't ever happen. It's pretty much what evolution is after you look beyond Darwinian claims. Some of these folks have complained to me that they can't go back in time and see the build phenomenon happen because it takes millions of years for evolution to happen. I have two things to say to that excuse. First of all, it's just that, an excuse for not answering the challenge. This is not itself an answer to the challenge. Secondly, I'm not asking for them to go back in time. I'm asking for an observation or experiment demonstrating highly improbable structures actually building themselves today, in the present. If the build phenomenon is real, we ought to be able to observe it. It doesn't have to be biological, and the experiment doesn't have to be anything elaborate. For example, how about something simple, like maybe a mouse trap? You could set all the pre-made parts on the table and watch it build itself, or perhaps stir them up in a bucket. Is there any experiment where a highly improbable structure arranges itself? I thought not. You see, statistical mechanics predicts exactly this impossibility, so it's not a surprise that the build phenomenon is a complete fraud. But how many billions of dollars in grant money are given out to charlatan evolutionists annually to pretend that they are doing science? What a crock. Now, fair is fair. What about intelligent design theory? What phenomenon is the underpinning for the ID model? Simple. It would be the intelligent activity phenomenon. Can we observe what happened at creation? Of course not. That's in the past, just as evolution is in the past. No one can observe origins. However, we can observe the intelligent activity phenomenon today, in the present, unlike the build phenomenon. In fact, we observe intelligent activity building coherent structures routinely, every day. In fact, billions of times every day. We know what human intelligent activity is capable of by watching humans build statistically improbable structures, such as computers and cities and space shuttles, even internet videos like this. So what kind of intelligent mind would be likely to build vastly more sophisticated things, such as life forms? Human? Not likely. But it seems logical to infer a vastly more intelligent mind than what we are familiar with. More investigation is warranted, but one thing is sure: life didn't invent itself with the build phenomenon. It is